Okay, so inside a deliberately developmental organization, Keegan and Leahy identify three important elements that help an organization create a culture of collective learning and collective growth. Edge, which is each person naming their aspirations. What is the place where they want to grow individually, and to have the organization think about where it wants to grow collectively. Home, which is the story of us, the internal culture of norms, of people modeling a kind of a vulnerability and support that breaks down these status games that can waste time and prevent people from doing their best. And groove, which is a set of rituals, practices, processes that enable people to practice and to work on their growing edge and develop individually and collectively. Let's begin with edge. Keegan and Leahy remind us that it's not just kids who need to grow, adults can and need to keep growing. So, a DDO is a kind of organization that helps you identify a challenge that you want to work on that's meaningful to you and valuable to the company that you can work on practically in order to grow. And not only that you are aware of it, but that your colleagues are aware of it. And it's not considered embarrassing. It's considered something that everybody has and everybody needs to help each other work on. And so um, the idea of identifying your edge is to give you up something to focus that you can work on, at least weekly. And so Keegan and Leahy conclude when you become more capable, when you've worked on this part of yourself that is your growing edge, it's something that's celebrated by your team members, by your manager, by your junior members of your team. And when you're ready, there are more opportunities to keep growing. Right? This is what a culture of growth and development looks like inside a company. So let's give an example. We go back to our friend Ray Dalio in Bridgewater. This is one of Ray Dalio's employees, Sergio. So it's 9 a.m. at the Bridgewater Associates office on a bright Friday morning in winter. Earlier in the week, Sergio was responsible for leading a meeting. In preparation, he delegated the task of preparing the slides for the meeting to Virginia, a junior member of his team. And Sergio's teammates were not at all impressed with the quality of the presentation. The meeting was derailed because the slide deck contained inadequate materials to help Sergio run the meeting successfully. Nico Canner, the facilitator for Friday morning's diagnosis session, this is a weekly ritual at Bridgewater, asks Sergio whether he realizes how bad the slide deck was. Did you even know it was needed? How much did you look at the deck? The focus is not on Virginia, right, who made the slides, but on Sergio's decision processes as team manager. I found myself defending the slides without knowing why, Sergio answers. To get to the deeper why, the group needs to discover what about Sergio made him do this. Sergio, through this learning process, is able to offer a diagnosis. He didn't have an adequate mental map of what was required for the meeting. He says, I lost sight of the goal of the meeting and defended the intelligence of the slides instead. And he admits that why is he doing this? Because he has an acute need, almost at random, to please others that could take me in a direction I don't want to go. The team meeting wraps up as Sergio asks for more opportunities to practice in similar situations. Canner summarizes, these failures are fuel, and praises Sergio for focusing on the loops of learning and seeing more clearly what good delegation looks like. So again, Sergio has identified a problematic pattern of behavior, but rather than trying to hide it, rather than being embarrassed or ashamed about it, it becomes something that everyone is committed to helping him improve. So not blaming him, but saying this is something that you can and should take steps to improve. Another scenario at Bridgewater. Rohit, a junior staffer in the research department, notices that a department is experiencing problems. So in the issues log, again, this is another tool of Bridgewater that allows people to flag issues that they see among the team decision making and log it so that everyone else can see that they're raising a concern. Total transparency. So in the issues log, Rohit questions how the department head of his department, Alex, is overseeing the work. Rohit says in this issues log, again, transparent, we've been struggling to keep up with all of our needs, and it's gotten to the point where Alex now has consultants managing consultants. How could all of these people outside our company manage these other people without going through what's needed to become a Bridgewater citizen? Notice the word citizen. How is Alex ensuring that the consultants are holding the bar high enough? His manager pushes back, responds in the same log. Again, this is transparent for the whole company to see. Not sure how Rohit's believable in the organizational design at all. This is a well-probed design and a much longer discussion of the use of CM, consultant-managed resources, in all sorts of roles. As you recall, I was a CM myself at the start of my tenure here. Brian, Rohit's manager and research department head, reads the exchange in the issues log and steps in. So now it's this third team member, Brian. As always, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm just calling out what I see. But I think you, Alex, are taking an issue log as an attack that needs to be defended. An issue log is a question, a perception that someone is generous enough to share with you. The last thing I ever want someone to feel when they issue log me, again, this is their internal vocabulary at Bridgewater, is that I or my people are being defensive, because that is most likely to shut down the improvement fuel pipe I desperately need. Again, this sounds very strange to people who are used to hiding their weaknesses or used to a culture of defensiveness. People are attacking and defending. But this is what a culture of collective learning looks like, is that everyone's individual improvement becomes a collective challenge. And unless people can accept feedback in a transparent and constructive way, no one grows. So how do we actually practice that? Well, in this example, Alex reflects on what Brian has said and pushes himself to step back, pause, diagnose his own patterns of behavior. Brian, Alex writes, thank you for the feedback. My initial amygdala response, again, they study cognitive science, so they're also seeing their System 1 and System 2 responses to criticism. My amygdala response tends towards defensiveness and overconfidence in the moment, with other watch out fors, including not encouraging others to probe, not seeing multiple possibilities. Is this possibly a teaching moment? Again, the word watch out for is like what NextJump refers to as a backhand. Watch out fors are things that are problematic behaviors that he's already identified with himself. So he's, through this issue log ritual, he's being asked to take a step outside his own thinking and analyze how he reacted. In the language of adult development psychology, we would call Alex's insight a case of moving something that was a subject, something we can only look through, to an object, something we can now look at. So in the case, his hot reaction to Rohit, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about consultants. He was looking through his reaction. And through this issue log process, the company helps him look at his reaction as something that he can maybe change, right? So this is helping him achieve a higher level of psychological complexity. So that's the growing edge. The second element is home. Keegan and Leahy say, through principles, commitments, and an openness to vulnerability, a DDO creates a home within which employees can identify their growing edge and engage in practices to develop toward it. The principles of continual development, psychological safety, and shared responsibility are integrated into the story of us of the organization. The principles are expressed in stories, jokes, rituals, and special vocabulary shared by members of the team. So you've seen in previous modules how these are little beacons, little micro signals that reinforce a culture of safety and mutual support. Ray Dalio was famous for writing this book, Principles, one of the great business bestsellers. Bridgewater is arguably the most successful hedge fund in history. It manages $165 billion. As many as 98% of its financial decisions are executed automatically based on the algorithms of its proprietary system. The CEO of Bridgewater, Greg Jensen, says, we're competing against everyone in the markets. The market price is a weighted average view of the future. The only way you can know something better is to have a better understanding of what can happen in the future. So our business is a perfect form of idea meritocracy. For us, the building blocks are a shared, building blocks are the rituals of Bridgewater that we've seen, issue log, the watch out fors. The building blocks are a shared, transparent set of principles so that in every decision we are reflecting on, what principles are at play? How can we take this decision in respect to those principles? Bridgewater's principles are described in an involving document that is continually referred to and interpreted. So it's like a constitution or a reference point. These principles call for a culture in which it's okay to make mistakes, but unacceptable not to identify, analyze, and learn from them. These principles are discussed, debated, applied, revised, and posted. In short, they're ever present and play an active role in daily life. So even though there's a constitution, that constitution can be revised and updated as the community faces new needs. Principles are not about mind control, write Kagan and Leahy. As organizations, they expand rather than contract individual freedom and possibilities for growth. They encourage, even obligate dissent rather than suppress it. So it's not that these principles, this story of us, is trying to shut down debate. It's actually trying to stimulate people to think critically and creatively. What do, you might ask, when you have to choose between the profit motive and the human development motive? You might say, oh, well, all of these rituals for individual development, that takes time away from buying and selling what makes our business profitable. What Dalio responds to this by saying, you, critics, are presuming a tension that we don't experience. For us, pursuing profitability and human development emerges as one thing. We at Bridgewater see a seamless integration of two pursuits as if they were a single goal: business excellence and the growth of people into more capable versions of themselves through the work of the business. Not something that distracts from the core business, but something that augments the value of the core business. Managers and leaders think every day about how to structure development into tasks, roles, projects, and systems. Business growth requires people who are developing. People developing requires the rich context for growth that business provides. Both are true at once. Neither is true without the other. So that the tension you might otherwise see between this time spent on individual learning and the time spent in the business, Ray Dalio thinks this is all part of one process. This ties us back to what we've seen before about psychological safety. A safe container means that when someone reveals her weakness and struggles publicly, it's not considered a shame, but rather she experiences an enhancement of her place in the organization rather than a diminishment. It doesn't mean that everyone agrees, that we all share one mind and no one dissents, but it means agreeing about what is up for disagreement. We can disagree about whether someone made the right decision or was working hard enough on something, but we agree on the value of investing our time in these conversations. We agree that the conversation itself is worthwhile. And if some people say it's not worthwhile, then you don't have the kind of home that you need to make your organization deliberately developmental. In most organizations, say Kagan and Leahy, the higher you climb, the more you are deferred to and the less you are criticized to your face. This is the hierarchical business culture. Now, Bridgewater and NextJump are not perfect democracies. They're not flat organizations. They have CEOs. They have top managers. They have a reporting structure. But companies like NextJump and Bridgewater do not treat senior leaders as completely grown, finished products. In conversations, a meritocracy of ideas is the ideal, meaning ideas that are better rise to the top, no matter if it's the most junior person or the most senior person in the company that has the idea. Titles are viewed as unimportant, and saying, oh, I have 20 years of experience or I outrank you are seen as mild power plays that get in the way of truly sharing ideas. In a DDO, the function of people development is not just an HR task. At NextJump, for example, the company's leaders are the chief coaches. The work at the Personal Leadership Bootcamp is led not by a separate training team, but by the co-founders. In situational workshops, NextJumpers present live workplace dilemmas of decision-making to a workshop leader, who in turn poses questions and helps expand the range of options for diagnosis and action. In a DDO, everyone from entry level to CEO has a crew, meaning an ongoing group that can be counted on to be an instrument of your vulnerability, calling you on your blind spots and reactivity and defensiveness, and also to support your growth as a result of your vulnerability. Moreover, all employees in a DDO are expected to contribute to the shaping and redesign of the company culture, to step forward at any time to improve how the organization does its work. And with our last video, we're going to look at Groove and how to make your organization more deliberately developmental.